I'm Mary Susie from Bead Me a Story. Thanks so much for joining me for another Christmas in July project. I love these. I love getting whimsical. I think it's so fun. So today what we're going to be doing is an all locked up Christmas tree. So this is a beaded holiday tree that you can wear as a pendant. And the all locked up weave is something that I came up with back in, I don't know, maybe 2011 or 2012, very early on in my chainmail making. And basically all it is a variation of shaggy loop chain where we're just going to add some extra rings to each row to kind of take these descending sized rings and push them out just a little bit so it forms more of a tree. Okay, so this is a long skinny pendant. It's not too wide. It's very lightweight, so you won't even hardly know you have it on. And then of course, if you don't want it as a pendant, you could turn this into some long earrings, or you could make it into a Christmas ornament. I do want to get a little bit more close up here. The colors are a little bit dark because of the green, and I wish everybody could see this in person because it is so cute. It's so cute in person, and I always feel like, you know, even in a video or a photograph, I just can't show you how cute some of this stuff is. And this is definitely one of those that that is cuter in person than I can show it to you. So anyway, I hope you give it a try. And like I said, I hope you'll also give it a try because you'll be learning the all locked up. And that is a great little skill to have because sometimes you just need to push those shaggy loop chains out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so stage one of this project is going to be creating the star at the top of the tree. So these are my components that I've already gotten ready. But basically what we're going to do is take a little piece of bead wire. So this is like Beadalon. You don't want the skinniest one. You probably don't want like a 0.010 or a 0.012. You want something that's a little bit thicker. So I usually try to use the 49 count. But the next one down, I think it's 27. I could be completely wrong. But next size down is fine. Basically, you just want a bead you want a thread that's thick enough where it's not going to tear through the O-ring. So if it's too skinny, there is a chance that you could always try using like 2 pieces at a time. But basically, we're just using this for this first part to use it as a needle. And so you can see I've bent this wire in half, and I picked up one of my yellow O-rings. Okay, and then I'm just going to pick up one of my size 6 seed beads, my gold beads that are in the kit, and I'm going to pull that down to where the O-ring is, and then take my pliers. I can just use my fingers too, but I'm going to take my pliers, this is my right hand or dominant hand, and take my left hand and kind of just pull this bead on. And it goes on very easily. This has a nice big size hole, so shouldn't be any problem to slide that on. Just be gentle when you do it. Again, you don't want to tear the O-ring. So that's the whole goal here, is to make sure that you don't do that. And then once you have 5 of these, that's all you need. We're going to open a 20 gauge 3/16 jump ring, and we're going to load these on. So we'll load them on to create a star. What you're going to do is take one of these components and you'll pass through one of the loops that you have here. And then you'll fold it over and pass through the other side loop. Okay? And then just slide that piece up as far as it can go. We can kind of cram it up a little bit more as we get more of these on, but you know, you might as well get it up as far as possible so you don't have to keep adjusting. So now I'm going to do the second one. So I'm passing the jump ring through one side, folding it over, passing through the other. And before we get too far here, I will just mention that closing this is going to be challenging because we're going to have a lot on here. So I do have my 450 BN pliers out, which tells you that this is a small little thing. And you know, you don't have to have those. And I will tell you what, if you are just unable to accomplish this because it's just too tight for you, this is the hardest part of the whole thing. You can use Toho size 6 demi rounds, and then this part will be like half what it is here. So I'm using a size 6 seed bead. A demi round would be half of that width. So that makes it a lot easier to do this with. So just letting you know, in case you decide to make a lot of them, you want to make this part easier on yourself, that can be done. Okay. Now, this is my last one. So this is, I want to get as much room for myself as possible. So you can kind of push some down and some up. I just want to like cram this over the side as much as I can. Because getting this jump ring closed with all this crammed on here is a challenge. So let me make sure I'm as much on this tip as I can be. Cram, cram, cram. I really loved the way the star turned out, so I wanted to keep it as is. Okay, so I'm going to kind of use the table to try and hold this in place and grab my other plier as quickly as possible. This may take a few tries. Am I going to get it? Oh, I got it. Okay, so you can see this is not an easy step for me either, but it works. And now I have my little star for the top of the tree. Okay, so as I said, these are size 6 seed beads. I love these because you get so much of this flash of gold, but if you know this is just beyond you to get all that stuff crammed on here, like I said, you can always get some Starlight Toho demi beads, and this will make it a little bit easier for you. But the size 6 seed beads are what is in your kit. Okay, so that is the end of section 1. Now we're going to go on to section 2. Okay, so now we're going to begin stage 2, and stage 2 is shaggy loop chain. That's all we're going to be doing here. So I'm going to start by working off my star, and I'm going to go from the smallest to the largest, and then of course the brown at the bottom. This is going to be the trunk of our tree. So all of these green jump rings in the center are 20 gauge 5/32, and then down here in the brown I have 18 gauge 5/32. The rubber O-rings are 4.5 millimeter, 6 millimeter. I have 2 rows of each, 2 rows of 4.5, 2 rows of 6 millimeter, 2 rows of 7.25 millimeter O-rings, 2 rows of 10 millimeter O-rings, and 2 rows of 12 millimeter O-rings. So we're going from small to large to form our tree. And that is just all fine and good with shaggy loop. You'll see it looks cute, but the whole point of this weave that we're going to do, called All Locked Up, is to create dimension in a shaggy loop chain. So we will get to that in the next section. But for right now, this first one, you want to go through here very gently, and you want to open your jump ring a little bit more than normal, just so you can get around all this bulk that's here. And basically you're going to want this jump ring to be sitting between 2 of the beads. Okay, so let me choke up on this. So this is actually the start of our shaggy loop chain. So I'm going to pick up 2 of my 4.5 millimeter O-rings. And close. Make sure you get good closures on your rings. Especially here, you don't want any sharp edges to tear any of your jump rings on your star. Okay, so I'll just show you kind of a close-up here. So this is what all shaggy loop rows look like. You've got a jump ring, and then you'll have an O-ring on either side, or a jump ring, or whatever. But you basically have a jump ring in the middle, and then you have a ring hanging off either side. Okay, so when I start this next row, I'm going to take my jump ring, pick up 2 more 4.5 millimeter O-rings, and then when I pass through here, I want to make sure that I'm passing through the jump ring where I'm going between the 2 O-rings. And that is going to be true every single row we do. So as you pick up the O-rings, you can pick them up at the beginning. It doesn't matter where they're sitting on the ring at this point. Okay, so you can see these 2 are just hanging here. And it's not until I start applying my next row that I want to make sure that these are split. Okay, so now that's my 4.5s. I'm going to work a little bit more quickly here because, of course, shaggy loop chain is, you know, beginner lesson number 1 of chainmail. It really is the easiest weave to do. Okay, so I want to make sure I'm passing between these. And close. And then the same thing. So we're just going to keep going with this. With each row, I'm going to pick up the 2 O-rings onto my jump ring. I'm going to split the 2 O-rings that are in the existing row and make sure that my jump ring passes between them. And that is basically all there is to shaggy loop chain. Since the rubber O-rings are closed rings, we don't have to worry about applying each ring and opening and closing every single ring, because of course these are already pre-closed for us. Okay, so I picked up 2. Now I'm starting my 7.25 millimeter. Okay, making sure I pass between the 2 6 millimeter O-rings from that previous row, and so on and so forth. Okay, so just continue this shaggy loop all the way down until you've used all of these materials. Okay, so I have finished the shaggy loop chain portion of this weave, and you can see it looks really nice. It has a little bit of dimension to it, but I invented this weave called All Locked Up back in 2011, 2012. I've never seen anybody else do it, but it's just a little variation on the shaggy loop chain, and what it does is it adds some additional rings to the inside of a shaggy loop chain to help push these rings out a little bit and give it dimension. Okay, so it's a really pretty easy thing to do, but this is one of those things where people do tend to overcomplicate the weave, and it's really very, very simple. So basically what we're going to do is I'm going to flip this upside down, okay, and then I'm going to bring the trunk right side. And what we want to look at is this. We have this brown jump ring here that's the top of the tree trunk, and this is one of the center rings of the shaggy loop chain. So basically we have metal going down the middle and we have rubber on the outside, which is what's going to help us learn this, because it makes it much easier to see what's what here. So basically what we're going to do with All Locked Up is we're going to start at this brown jump ring, which is one of the center jump rings of the chain, and we're going to link it to the O-ring that hangs down next to it. So this O-ring is linked in one row up from this, but it's actually hanging next to it just because you know, when gravity happens, that will be the ring that's laying beside this. So you're going from the center jump ring of, we'll say row 3 here, so 3 from the bottom, 1, 2, 3 jump rings, and we're linking to one of the outside rings of row 4. Okay? So we're going to link the center jump ring of row 3 to the outside jump ring of row 4. And then once we do that, we're going to flip this over and work on the other side of this brown jump ring to link this other side in. Okay, so let me go ahead and grab one of these. So let me just point out, I have this all laid out for you, and in the kit this is all laid out with pictures for you, and it has lines in between so you can see where up here we have 20 gauge 1/8 inch jump rings, and then starting from here down to here we have 20 gauge 5/32 jump rings, which are your medium. So these are your small, these are your medium, and these are your large. So from here down, these are 20 gauge 3/16. So the 20 gauge 3/16 are going to work side by side with our 12 and our 10 millimeter O-rings, our biggest ones. And then the 20 gauge 5/32 are going to work with our 725s and our 6s. And then the 20 gauge 1/8 inch jump rings we're going to use with our 4.5. And I will just point out that this top row here is only going to have 2 jump rings. It's not going to have 4 like all the other rows. And that's just because we're trying to create that V for the tree. And that helps us do that by not filling in that top row too much. Okay, so let me pull this back again. Now we're going to shoot for our brown jump ring, and I'm going to go from front to back, and then I'm just going to let this 12 millimeter O-ring lay back down. Well, it would help if I had this open enough. You know, you don't want your beads to fall off, but you also need it open enough to go through the O-ring. Okay, so just let that fall back down over top, and that's it. That's your first application of all locked up. That's all there is to it. Okay, so now once again we're going to double this in every position. So now I'm going to bring in my yellow. So I had purple and yellow in that first row, and I'm going to come underneath. This is just going to run parallel to where this purple one is, so I'm just going to apply it from underneath, just so you know which direction I'm going in if I have my tree upright. And I'm going through again that brown and the green 12 millimeter O-ring. Okay, and there we go. So that's 2 rings. They're just parallel to each other. I just found that this needed to be filled in a little bit more. Okay, so now what I did was I flipped this over. So now I'm on the back side of this brown jump ring. You see, you can't see those ones that you just applied. You can kind of see it peeking through here, but basically we're on the other side of this jump ring, and we're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to do my purple first. Okay, so I'm going to pass through the brown, and then I'm going to let this 12 millimeter O-ring fold down, okay, just like gravity would make it do, and pass through that. Okay, and then I'm going to take the yellow, and again I'll just pass through this brown underneath where I applied the purple, and through the 12 millimeter O-ring. Okay, so don't worry, I'll do this again. I want you to see a few rows of this just to make sure you get it. Okay, so I'm going to turn everything up, and then you can see that this just creates a little bit of dimension in here to push the rings out a little bit. Not tons, but ever so slightly. It gives you a little bit more shape to your piece, and you might be able to see it from above even better that these are being pushed out. Okay, so now we're going to flip upside down again. Now I've applied my first pair of 12s. I've already got everything on there that I need. So now we're working on the first green jump ring. So this is our center row of our shaggy loop, and I'm just going to take, this has a green bead. I'm going to pass through this center ring of the shaggy loop, let the 12mm O-ring come down over it, and close. So that 12mm O-ring actually belongs to the row that's above this. And then I'm going to grab my orange, and just like the yellow, I'm going to put this underneath the green. Okay, so I'm just going to hold this green jump ring that I just applied up so that I can just put this right next to it and pass through that 12mm O-ring that's right here for me, and close. Okay. So now we just applied these. I'm going to flip this over to the back side. So what that does too is I'm right-handed, so this puts this 12mm O-ring to my right, so I can work towards the right, from left to right. And if you're a lefty, do the opposite. Okay, so here's my green jump ring that I passed through. It's the same jump ring I was passing through on the other side. I'm just on the back side of it. And I'm going to pass through, let this 12mm O-ring fold down so that my jump ring passes through the center of it, and close. Then I'm going to take my orange, just like I did on the other side. I'll hold this one with the green bead up, pass through that center ring, the same one the green just passed through, and then around the 12mm O-ring. Okay, and now we're using still the 20 gauge 3/16, but I'm going to move up to the next row. Now the next row is made up of 10mm O-rings. Okay, so you can see this is the center jump ring that was holding these 12s that just got locked down. And in this case, we might want to call this weave all locked down, but you can do it in both directions, you know, where you're locking things up or locking things down. So this is the same jump ring, the same center jump ring that was holding these two 12mm O-rings. That's how you know you're starting on the correct row. I'm going to take my blue bead, pass through, and then just let this 10mm O-ring that's right here beside it, I'm going to pass through it and close. And then I'm going to take my finger and hold that up and take the pink. And again, this is just going to sit parallel to this one that I just added. So I'm just passing through the same center jump ring, through the 10mm O-ring that's right here, and close. And then I'm going to flip this to the back side. Okay. And this is the same jump ring that I've been applying to. It just looks different because you're seeing it from the back. Can't see the stuff that's on the other side. Okay, pass my blue through, and then just fold down this 10mm O-ring that's right here. You can start to see the stiffness in here and how this is holding everything up. I'm going to put my finger on this blue beaded jump ring, pick up my pink, pass through that same center jump ring and around the same 10mm O-ring, and close. Okay. And hopefully you're starting to get the hang of this now, but I'll do it one more time. So we can see we have jump rings with beads passing through these 10mm O-rings now. Okay, so we want to let those drop down to the bottom And we're going to be working on the jump ring that holds these two 10mm O-rings together. And I'm going to take my aqua. I'm going to pass through that center jump ring, let the 10mm O-ring drop down over the jump ring, and close. Put my finger on this new jump ring that I just added in. Then my red, pass through the same jump ring, same O-ring, close. Okay, then turn it around to the other side. I want to be on the back side of this center jump ring. And I can see, so you know, we're doing 2s by 2s, so this is my last 10mm O-ring that hasn't been locked into place. Okay, so pass through the center jump ring, let this 10mm O-ring drop down over the jump ring, and close. And then well, that's staying up on its own, so I don't need to put my finger on it this time. Okay, then I'll take the red through the same center jump ring and through the same rubber O-ring, which is a 10mm. Okay, and I'm going to pretty much stop here, but just because I'm moving to a different size, I'll show you. Now we've locked down all of our 10mm O-rings, so I want to be on the jump ring that is holding those together. So this is the center jump ring that holds these 10mm O-rings together, and that's where I'm going to start my next row, and that is also where my color repeat begins. So I'm back to the purple and yellow, so I'm going to pass through and then bring down a 7.25 O-ring. Okay, so this gets easier as you go along because the O-rings get smaller and smaller. So we're going to continue on through the 7.25s and 6s. You can already see how it's a little bit more dimensional here at the bottom. That's what you're creating with this. Okay, so we're going to continue on all the way to the top, and then again when you get to this very top row and we're passing through this jump ring here, we've only got one on either side. Okay, and then we'll stop there and put our pendant onto its chain. Okay, so finally stage 4, and this is the easiest stage for sure. This is just a matter of one jump ring application, but look how cute the little tree is. So this is kind of a long skinny one. It's a pendant, but it has a lot of movement. It's almost like an upside down tassel, because it is going to move around. It's going to be very comfortable to wear, and this is very lightweight still, but it looks like a little lighted Christmas tree because of all the silver lined beads that are in it. I think it's absolutely adorable. So all we need is a 16 gauge 5/16 jump ring and a gold chain. So these are just little ball chains. If you'd like to put this on a nicer chain, of course, please do so. This is just something that's inexpensive that can be put in your kit, and you are welcome to replace it. So when I do this 16 gauge 5/16 jump ring, I want to open it a little bit more than normal, and that is just so that we can gently get this through here and around. And then instead of, I can open up my ball chain and put this through, but it's easier to just stick the ball chain on here and close, and that's it, and you have an adorable pendant to wear. Okay, it's long, it's skinny. You could also use this in an ornament. You could attach it at the top and the bottom to maybe like an icicle. You know, this would be a great like addition to an icicle ornament if you want to do it that way. But I thought it made a really cute pendant. It's, like I said, very light, very comfortable, And I would strongly recommend that when you wear this, you wear it with one of my beaded framing chains. So if you don't know what a framing chain is, I'll try and link the video below. But basically, when you put a framing chain with something, it brings the eye in. So when you're wearing this, this is, you know, hanging in the center, and then you have a chain around it that has some movement, and it draws everybody's eye in. And I would challenge you to wear a pendant like this just all by itself one day, see if anybody notices, and then maybe wait a week or so and wear the same pendant and wear it with a framing chain, and you just watch how many people stop you and notice your adorable little tree here. So it really, a framing chain works great with something like this that has a little bit of color to draw the eye in, so that you can really showcase this adorable little Christmas tree. So I hope you enjoyed this project. I love sharing all locked up. It's a difficult weave to show you in a photo and written tutorial. It's a lot easier to show you how to do this in a video. So I hope that I made the steps clear for you and that you can really understand what to do, because this is going to be something that's super cute to wear during the holidays, and I think you'll have a great time with it. So thanks so much for joining me. If you love this video, please like the video and follow me on YouTube. Ding that bell so that you get notifications whenever I put out new videos for you. And I hope to see you next time and many more times. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you next time.